All right, welcome everyone. Ready to dive deep into some seriously cool careers.
Definitely. Always exciting to see what's out there.
Today we're heading to South Africa, a country bursting with biodiversity, but also facing some pretty big environmental challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. And those challenges, they're actually creating a ton of opportunities, especially when we're talking about specific career paths.
Exactly. So if you're passionate about the environment and you want a job that makes a real impact, you might want to keep listening.
Definitely a good place to be if you want to make a difference.
South Africa could be calling your name. We're going to break down 7 emerging careers and how you can get ready for them.
Sounds good.
Let's kick things off with environmental consultants.
All right.
South Africa is getting serious about environmental regulations,
Yeah.
and businesses are scrambling to keep up,
Big time.
which means consultants are in super high demand.
Makes sense.
But it's not just about checking boxes, right?
Yeah. Not at all.
These consultants are helping companies operate sustainably.
It's the real deal.
What does that actually look like?
Well, assessing a company's environmental impact,
Right.
developing strategies to reduce pollution,
Uh-huh.
maybe even helping them switch to renewable energy.
Gotcha.
It's hands-on. You need to know environmental science and business.
A good mix.
Yeah.
And speaking of a changing world, climate change is a massive issue in South Africa.
Definitely top of mind for a lot of folks there.
So climate change analysts, no surprise, they're in high demand.
For sure.
What are they actually doing?
So they're the ones looking at climate data, predicting what's coming next,
Okay,
coming up with strategies to deal with it.
gotcha.
Imagine being on a team that's helping coastal towns prepare for rising sea levels or figuring out how to farm in drought conditions.
Whoa.
It's serious work that makes a real difference.
Yeah, absolutely crucial. And speaking of adapting, let's talk about renewable energy.
All right, let's do it.
South Africa is moving away from coal, and that means they need a whole bunch of renewable energy specialists.
Definitely a growing field.
Think about the challenges of bringing solar power to rural communities where the infrastructure is not really there.
Yeah.
It's not just about designing solar panels. It's about figuring out the logistics and making sure everyone has access to clean energy.
Absolutely a puzzle to solve.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Now, let's switch gears for a second and talk about another big problem.
Okay.
Water.
Right.
With water scarcity being such a challenge in South Africa, water resource managers are really, really important.
Essential, yeah.
They're the ones making sure water is used sustainably,
That's it.
coming up with irrigation systems for farmers, managing wastewater treatment, and even working on policies to protect water resources.
It's a whole system they have to look at.
Yeah,
Strong analytical skills, problem solving, all that good stuff.
they're balancing a lot of different needs. It's a tough job. Now, let's move on to something, I don't know, this is a field that I'm pretty passionate about. Biodiversity conservation.
Oh, cool.
South Africa has these incredible ecosystems and species you won't find anywhere else. And protecting them, that's vital.
Agreed.
So biodiversity conservationists are right there on the front lines.
Yeah, the boots on the ground.
Protecting habitats,
Mm-hmm.
managing wildlife populations,
Right.
even dealing with conflict between humans and wildlife,
That can be tricky.
leading anti-poaching patrols, restoring degraded areas, working with local communities to figure out ways to make a living that don't harm the environment.
It's a big picture kind of job.
It sounds like a career where passion meets practical skills, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, let's talk about the foundation of all this.
Okay.
Environmental education.
Super important.
These educators are the key to a more sustainable future.
I'd say so.
You might find them in schools, developing educational programs, or even leading workshops in communities, talking about things like recycling and conservation.
It's all about spreading the word.
It's about getting people to care and changing the way they do things.
Absolutely. Awareness is huge.
Education is the base for all of this.
Couldn't agree more.
And finally, let's talk about feeding a nation sustainably.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Sustainable agriculture specialists.
It's only needed.
These are the folks tackling problems like soil degradation and water shortages.
Huge challenges in a place like South Africa.
They're the innovators, developing and promoting sustainable farming practices.
They're the ones coming up with the solutions.
Maybe they're helping farmers go organic, figuring out water-efficient irrigation, even experimenting with drought-resistant crops.
It's about keeping people fed while protecting the planet.
A big balancing act. Sounds like all of these careers need a solid grounding in environmental science.
Yeah, for sure. That's your starting point.
What advice would you give to students or new grads who are thinking about these fields?
So first, specialize. Figure out what area you're really passionate about and become an expert in it.
Okay.
Look for internships,
Oh,
volunteer opportunities to get some real-world experience,
yeah.
and don't underestimate networking.
Networking is huge.
Super important.
Great advice. So what does this mean for you?
So what can you take away from this?
So, well, we've seen that South Africa offers this really unique mix of challenges and opportunities, especially for people who care about the environment.
Yeah, a lot going on there.
And these are just a few examples,
Oh,
right?
yeah, just scratching the surface. There are tons of new specializations popping up all the time. The key is to find what speaks to you and figure out how you can make your own contribution to South Africa's environmental future.
Exactly.
So many ways to get involved.
Imagine yourself working on the front lines of conservation, taking on climate change, developing solutions that work. What skills do you bring to the table?
It's all about finding your niche.
It's really exciting stuff. We encourage you to explore these careers, do your research, and find out how you can make a difference.
The possibilities are endless.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Absolutely. It was great talking about this.
We'll see you next time.